I turned on the Grammys for just 5 minutes yesterday, and I was blessed enough to catch the most out of touch performance of the night, and it was not a song.
No one is illegal on stolen land.
Yeah, that's Billie Eilish deciding to recycle 2016's favorite protest slogan, seemingly unaware that everyone has moved on from the stolen land line, because everyone realized that it's absolutely batshit insane, and the logic behind the line collapses the second that you think about it. Here's the thing: no one is illegal on stolen land is a fun slogan, as are the other yard sign slogans that the liberals love. Probably feels good for someone like her to say that in front of a crowd, to get them going, hear the cheers. She's the star. Just think about that line. Think for one moment. If nobody is illegal, then that means that land cannot be stolen.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Seriously, think about it. The land either belongs to someone or it doesn't. The moment you say that the land was stolen or that nobody is illegal, you make that line fall apart. If nobody is illegal, then we couldn't have stolen the land from the natives. On the flip side, if the land can be stolen, then people can illegally be in the land. Of course, you could try to get around my argument by saying that America was the first to steal the land. Then we would have been the illegal settlers in land that, rightfully belonged to the natives. So if the land isn't stolen, then someone can be illegal. I don't think Billy would agree with that, but let's assume that she does. In that case, she better pull out the history books that don't exist and listen to all the tribal stories to try to figure out who was the first on each piece of land. Because here's what she and what nobody else will admit. Before we got here, the land was full of looting, plunder, murder, and yes, stealing other tribes' land. It's just what the world was back then. So if Europeans stole it from natives, who did the natives steal it from? And seriously, think about it. The Blackfoot stole from the Crow, who stole from the Sioux, who stole from the God knows who. So who are the rightful heirs to the land? That's something that she and nobody alive could answer. Which is why what she's really saying is that illegal immigration does not exist. Would she say that someone can be illegal in Ireland? That someone can be illegal in Sweden? Where the natives are the Europeans that have lived there and run it forever? Something tells me she'd say no, which means that she doesn't even believe her own statement. And does she think that the native tribes were just super warm to immigrants? Did the Blackfeet, who stole land from the Crow, who stole from the Sioux, do you think that they were friendly to a random Apache Indian who tried to come into their tribe? If they discovered that an Apache Indian had infiltrated their camp, was getting free food and shelter, would they have just let it be? Or maybe would they have killed him, or made him a slave, or sent him back to where he came from? The native tribes were open communes. They were nations with borders. Flexible borders, but they had borders. Rules, consequences for those violating those rules. The Comanche wouldn't have just handed out blankets to Ute refugees. The Iroquois Confederacy had strict protocols about who could enter. This idea that pre-European contact America was some borderless utopia is just disrespectful to the actual complexity of indigenous governance. It's just total nonsense. The way that these people want the world to work is just such fairyland utopian bullshit that has never been the way of the world and will never be the way of the world. We know that they could test out this way of the world themselves. Billy bought a $2.3 million house, apparently, in California. She could open up that house. It's on stolen land, isn't it? And look, I honestly don't like this argument, this open up your house to the illegals argument, but it does work on just the most basic level. If nobody is illegal, then what gives you property rights? If everyone has rights to land that is stolen, what makes her house hers? That's what I don't understand, and what she could not answer because she doesn't have to think critically about this stuff. Which brings me to my final point. Slogans like that sound good when you don't think about it. When you can just go along with what you see on X or Blue Sky, when you follow what the Hollywood elites are telling you, you end up making a fool of yourself on the Grammy stage. Of course, you and I will never be up on that stage, but we do have friends, we have kids, spouses, in-laws, people who actually know us. If you go around saying slogans like this, you'll look like a fool to anyone who has the ability to think critically for 5 seconds. You won't get standing ovations like Billy did. You'll get people snickering behind your back, making fun of you. Because someone, a coworker, a family member, someone at a dinner party will ask you, who did we steal the land from? Why doesn't that logic apply to Norway or Ireland? Can people be illegal in Sweden? How do property rights work if nobody's illegal? You won't have an answer. Billy didn't think about it either. She didn't need an answer. That's why she could just say it on stage and move on. The rest of us, we have to actually think about this stuff. Because in the real world, slogans don't matter. Logic does. Thanks for sticking around and watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and let me know. Did you even watch the Grammys? Are you tired of these famous people thinking they're smart? I know I am, so let me know your thoughts. Hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.